Hello, Gary Crowley here with DoItYourselfJointPainRelief.com. And this is video 2 of 4 videos for sciatica pain relief. In video 1, we showed you how to stretch all these big hip muscles on both sides. It's important to do both sides through some general hip stretches. But now I want you to show you how to use some general, hopefully some balls you just have laying around your house, to really get into these hips and really be specific about how we're going to free all those big hip muscles that are probably a big causative element in your sciatic pain. So basically, I generally recommend to people in a lot of my videos you use a tennis ball. And what we're going to do, no matter what ball we're using, is we're probably going to start kind of low and sit on a ball and then move our leg in a way that makes that muscle under the ball move. But we're basically going to cover this whole side of your hip, and then we're going to do the other whole side of your hip. And now a tennis ball, see what there's a couple factors here. Depending on how cushy the surface is that you're sitting on and how cushy your own butt is, you're going to need a different size ball to get in to some of these different areas. And again, we only want to work as deeply as you can relax into, but so tennis ball, like down here, down at the very bottom, is very comfortable for me. I can apply a lot of pressure. The table gives a little, the ball gives a little. There's a tender spot for me. I stay on that tender spot right there and I move my leg. It's important to understand you're not massaging the tissue with the ball. The ball is in one place, and then you're moving that leg and making that spot you're pressing on, making the tissue under there move. That gets your cerebellum to understand that you want this tissue to release. When that releases a little bit, you move on to, or a whole lot, then you move on to another spot. And you find another tender spot, you put enough weight into it, as much as you can put in there while you can still remain relaxed, and you move that leg again. Okay, now that's a pretty decent spot for me. I don't have sciatica, so that actually let go pretty easily. Now I find when I get a little higher up, a little more meaty part of my butt, this tennis ball doesn't do it. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't really get in there. I can sit here all day and it's not really getting anywhere. But I get something like this, I don't know what it's kind of a big baseball. I just go to Sports Authority and buy all the different balls. But I lean on this thing, and that gets down to some layers where there's some tension. And again, I probably just have computer hip or driving hip, but that gets a nice release. And then I turn, and there's a good spot right there. And I do that, and this ball is in one spot. And this is making that muscle move. And again, you might not be able to get into this position. You might be a little too stiff. You might be a little older, would have a hard time doing this. So then you got to figure out, okay, I got to get at that spot, and this actually takes much less effort to do that. It's not quite as specific as this, but again, you want to be able to, you got to do whatever you can do. It doesn't make any difference. You just got to do it at the level you can do it. And again, that's a very nice release on that side of my hip. So I've already, in this little video, I've used a tennis ball on the bottom, I've used this one, and I've used this one, and I've gotten some really nice release on these hip muscles. And again, you want to it doesn't really matter. It varies. If you're on the floor, you probably use the tennis ball even more because it's a little harder. If you're doing this in your bed, the softball is going to be more useful because there's a lot more give. But again, you want to do both sides. And we're doing this whole from down here all the way up to here, both sides. You can even do your tailbone as long as you're a little careful. Use a tennis ball. Just be gentle on your tailbone because it's a bone, but there is sometimes a little buildup of tissue there. And if you do basically kind of the investigation, find out what the best fits are, you can actually very precisely release your whole hip. Now sometimes I will even, I had a lacrosse ball here, so there it is. See, now sometimes up against the edge of my tailbone, not on my tailbone, but right on the edge, sometimes I need this is a pretty hard ball, this lacrosse ball. And this gives a little bit, but this, right, I've learned on the edge of my tailbone, I need something a pretty hard ball that's a little smaller just to get at some of those. Let me find one. Yeah, see, there's a nice little spot for me. And then when I get in there with the right, see, I actually need kind of a lot of weight to get down to where it's tight because I don't really have sciatica, but you know, I'm putting a lot of weight on that, but it's a very precise point. And I've just learned from messing around that that lacrosse ball is kind of the magic ball for that spot. This for lower, this kind of for the upper half, sometimes is easier. So just do the investigation, play around, do both sides of your hips, and then when you feel like you've released a lot of it, stand up, walk around, and assess how much better your sciatica is, because it's, I would imagine if you did this well, your sciatica is going to be a whole lot better. So, so that is video 2 of 2. Video 3 and 4, we're going to release some of the bigger players that are yanking on your pelvis more from your upper legs. But they're important, but I want you to take a minute and assess how much better it is just from videos 1 and 2, and hopefully things are already vastly improved. I will see you at video 3. Thank you.